Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Charlie. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing y'all how to make my delicious homemade banana pudding cake from scratch. Now, this is a very delicate refrigerator style cake. It consists of 2 layers of soft vanilla cake, banana slices, crumbled and whole vanilla wafers, a stabilized whipping cream, and a homemade vanilla custard, which I made from scratch. It's basically a classic banana pudding turned into a cake. This recipe calls for about 10 individual servings of cake. Absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all what you'll need to make your homemade banana pudding cake. Let's get started with our ingredients. You'll need some cake flour or all-purpose flour, and along with that, you're going to need some sugar, salt, baking powder, baking soda, cornstarch, gelatin, unsalted butter at room temperature, large eggs at room temperature, whole milk at room temperature, sour cream at room temperature, heavy whipping cream cold, vegetable or canola oil, 5 large bananas, and this is about 1 pound and 12 ounces to be exact. You'll also need some vanilla wafers, vanilla extract, butter extract, and cake batter extract. Now the cake batter and the butter extract is optional. If you don't have those, you can just use the vanilla extract and you'll be good to go. And you will also need some confectioner sugar. And to bake your cake, you will need some Baker's Joy nonstick baking spray, 2 9-inch round cake pans, a hand or stand mixer, a wooden spoon, whisk and spatula, mesh strainer, a disposable piping bag with the Wilton number 1M tip. And there we have it. Alrighty, let's get straight to it. So we're going to get started with making the custard first. Now I'm going to go ahead and separate 6 egg whites from 6 egg yolks. Now I take the egg whites and I place them into one bowl, and I'm going to take my egg yolks and place them into a separate bowl. Now you could take the bowl with the egg whites in it and make a meringue. Alright, so in our large bowl with the 6 egg yolks in it, I'm going to add 2/3 cup of sugar and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. You're going to mix this with a whisk vigorously for 1 minute or until the mixture is a pale yellow color, like how you see here. Alright, here I have a 1/2 cup of whole milk at room temperature, and to that I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now I'm going to take my whisk and I'm just going to stir this until combined. Now we're going to set this on the side because I'm going to add this into my custard mixture later. Preheat your fire to medium heat. Alright, let's get started with our custard. So in this medium-sized pot, I'm going to add 2 1/2 cups of whole milk at room temperature. And I'm going to just give this a quick stir. Let this come to a simmer. Alright, it's been about 2 to 3 minutes now, and as you can see, the milk is kind of foaming up, so that lets us know that it's starting to come to a slight simmer. Turn your fire off. Alright, now while mixing our egg yolk mixture with a whisk, we're going to pour the hot milk in here 3 separate times. This is 1. And what this does is that it tempers the eggs, so that way they don't turn into scrambled eggs. This is the second amount here that I'm pouring in. Now we're not measuring or anything at this time, just add the milk in there 3 separate times. And this is the 3rd and final amount right on in there. And bam, there you go. Preheat your fire to medium-low heat. Now I'm going to take my custard mixture and pour it right into a medium-sized pot, the same one that we used earlier. Let's pour it all in there. Remember our cornstarch mixture, make sure you give it one last final quick stir and pour it right on in there. I'm going to take a spatula and just stir this. Now you're going to stir this for about 6 to 8 minutes or until the mixture thickens. Alright, it's been about 6 to 8 minutes now, and as you can see, the mixture has thickened. You'll be able to tell because it's a little bit more difficult to stir than usual. And it's a little bit velvety like in texture. It's a little bit more smooth than usual. Turn your fire off. Now I'm going to just pour the custard into this mesh strainer with a large bowl underneath it. Alright, now I'm going to just pull this out. Now, if your custard has like a lot of egg particles in there, and if your custard has like a strong eggy like smell, then chances are you overcooked your custard and you'll have to make the custard over again, okay? Now you want to pay attention when stirring your custard around about the 6-minute mark, because that's when it's going to start thickening, so you want to pay attention to that. Now you're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now I'm going to just give that a quick stir. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and take some plastic wrap, and I'm going to just place the plastic wrap on top of the custard. And I'm going to do this very carefully. This is going to prevent that skin from forming on top of the custard, and we don't want that. Alright, now I'm going to cover this. Now you're going to place this into your refrigerator overnight. So that means anytime in the evening time between 4 or 5 o'clock, or if you want to make it ahead of time, maybe 1 or 2 days in advance, you can do that. Just as long as you make it the day before you decorate your cake, alright? Alright, so in this small container, I have 1 cup of hot water. And to that, I'm going to add 1 package of the gelatin. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick stir. And I'm going to stir this until that gelatin is dissolved into the water. Now you're going to place this into your refrigerator for about 3 hours or until the gelatin hardens. Alright, let's get started with the preparation of our cake batter. I'm going to get started with the dry ingredients first. So in this medium-sized bowl with a mesh strainer, I'm going to add 2 cups of cake flour or all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to sift all the ingredients into this medium-sized bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick stir. Alright, now let's get started with our wet ingredients. So in this medium-sized bowl, I want to let you know, pay very close attention to this. It's very important, alright? If you are using cake flour, which I'm going to be using for this recipe, you're going to add 1/2 cup of sour cream at room temperature. Make sure you get a spatula to get that on in there. And to that, I'm going to add 2/3 cup of whole milk at room temperature. Now, if you're using all-purpose flour, you're going to add 1/3 cup of sour cream at room temperature and 1/2 cup of whole milk at room temperature. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of butter extract, 1 teaspoon of cake batter extract, and since I'm from New Orleans, I'm going to sneak about 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of almond extract. You know, in New Orleans, we love our almond cakes. Now I'm going to just take my whisk and just stir this until combined. Now some people may ask me, Charlie, what's the sour cream for? Sour cream is basically an acidic ingredient that's going to react with the leavening, like the baking powder and the baking soda, and that's going to give us a really soft cake. I just want to give y'all a quick lesson on that, because some people be asking me, what's this, what's that for? And there you go. Alrighty, let's get started with making our cake batter. So in a stand mixer fitted with a paddle attachment, you can also use a hand mixer as well. I'm going to add 1 1/2 sticks of unsalted butter, softened and at room temperature. And to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of vegetable or canola oil and 1 3/4 cups of sugar. Now I'm going to start my mixer on a medium-low speed just to get that butter, canola oil, and sugar incorporated. Then I'm going to turn my mixer up to the highest setting, and I'm going to mix this on high speed for 6 minutes. Now at some point during those 6 minutes, you're going to go ahead and stop your mixer and scrape down the sides of your bowl. Continue mixing that in. Alright, scrape down the sides of your bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and start my mixer on a medium speed, and I'm going to add 3 large eggs in at room temperature, 1 at a time. Alright, scrape down the sides of your bowl. Now I'm going to add the cake flour or all-purpose flour mixture and the milk and sour cream mixture into the batter 3 separate times. Alright, now I'm going to add the first amount of the cake flour or all-purpose flour mixture and the first amount of the milk and sour cream mixture. Now we're not doing any measurements or anything like that, we're just adding it in there. Now I'm going to mix this on a medium-low speed for about 20 seconds or until combined. Alright, scrape down the sides of your bowl, add the second amount of the cake flour or all-purpose flour mixture and the second amount of the milk and sour cream mixture. And again, I'm gonna mix this on a medium-low speed for about 15 to 20 seconds or until combined. All right, scrape down the sides of your bowl. Now I'm gonna add the third and final amount of the cake flour or all-purpose flour mixture and the third and final amount of the milk and sour cream mixture. Get a spatula to get that all in there. Now this time, I'm gonna mix this on a medium speed for about 15 to 20 seconds or until combined. All right, scrape down the sides of your bowl and our cake batter is now ready. Look at how beautiful and smooth that is. Yes. Spray your 2 baking pans with the Baker's Joy non-stick baking spray. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my oven to 325 degrees. Now I'm going to pour my prepared cake batter into my baking pans. Now you're going to take a back of a spoon and you're just going to spread the cake batter around your baking pans as evenly as possible. Now to make the batter more even, shake each pan slightly. Now they're ready to be baked. Now I'm going to place these into a preheated 325 degree oven on the middle rack. Bake this for 35 minutes. Alright, it's been about 35 minutes now for our cake layers. Now let's go ahead and remove this out of the oven. Toothpick inserted into each cake layer should come out clean. Let the cakes cool completely. This can take anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. As you can see here, the cake has a dome on top. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just take a little serrated knife and I'm just going to cut the dome off of the top of the cake. Now you want to make sure that your cake is leveled and everything. Make sure you take a look at it and make sure it's good to go. Alright, here I have my gelatin. It's nice and firm. I put it in the refrigerator overnight for about 9 hours. So now I'm going to just take a tablespoon of this gelatin and I'm going to add it into this small glass bowl here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, place this into my microwave on the defrost setting for about 1 minute or until the gelatin has melted. And there you go. And from there it's ready to be added to the whipping cream. Alright, now let's get started with our whipped cream. Now before we begin, make sure you take your mixing bowl and your whisk attachment and place it into your refrigerator for a couple of hours. I let mine sit in my refrigerator overnight. Add 3 1/2 cups of heavy whipping cream. Make sure that it is cold. And to that, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of confectioner sugar plus 2 additional tablespoons of confectioner sugar. So that's 3/4 cup plus 2 additional tablespoons of confectioner sugar. 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, a 1/2 teaspoon of cake batter extract, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. That's just going to burn out the flavors. Mix this on high speed for 6 minutes. At the 4-minute mark, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of your melted gelatin right on in there. And you're going to continue to mix this on high speed for 2 additional minutes. Alright, scrape down the sides of your bowl and our whipped cream is now ready. Now once done, you're going to take this and place this into your refrigerator for about 30 minutes to an hour. That way it can set, okay? You could also do this about 1 day in advance. Now if you have any issues with your whipping cream turning out runny or too thin, like runny ice cream, what you do is you take it, you put it into your refrigerator for about 15 to 30 minutes, take it out, put it back onto your mixer and mix it on high speed until it thickens. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and take 5 whole bananas. I'm going to just slice them. Alright, now here is another tip here. I have a 1/2 lemon. Now I'm going to just squeeze the lemon into the palm of my hand. I'm going to just rub it onto my hand and I'm going to just coat the banana slices with the lemon juice. That's going to prevent the bananas from turning colors. Don't worry about the bananas tasting like lemon. The lemon flavor will be overpowered by the bananas, so you don't have to worry about that. Alrighty, now in a food processor, before we begin, make sure you reserve about 18 of these vanilla wafers, alright? And the rest, you can take them and add them into this food processor. Now you're going to pulse this for about 12 to 15 times. And there you go. Alright, now our custard is ready. We let it sit in our refrigerator overnight. Take a spatula, get some of this custard off this plastic wrap. And there we have it. And as you can see, our custard has gotten much thicker than usual. This is exactly what we're looking for. Now I wanted to let y'all know this too. When you first make the custard, you might notice that it might have a very slight eggy smell. Don't worry about that. Once the custard has cooled off and refrigerated, you won't have to worry about that anymore. Alrighty, now let's get started with the decoration of our banana pudding cake. So I have the bottom cake layer on top of this cake serving pad, and I also have a turntable now. Yay! So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a fork and I'm just gonna poke holes on the top of the cake layer, so that way the custard will pretty much seep into the cake, not to where it's overly saturated. And you want to also do that to the top cake layer as well. Alright, here I have a disposable piping bag with the tip cut off, and I'm going to just add that into this cup here. And you're going to add about 1 1/2 cups of the whipped cream right on in there. There we go. Now I'm going to just pipe a border onto the edge of the cake layer. And we're doing this because once we pour the custard on top, we don't want it to seep onto the outsides of the cake. Now I'm going to add the banana slices. Now I'm going to sprinkle some of the vanilla wafer crumb. Now I'm going to pour the vanilla custard right on top. Now I poured about 1 1/2 cups of the vanilla custard in here, alright? Use a spoon to kind of help stir that just a little bit to get that custard to go down a little bit. And make sure that if you have to pipe another border on top to make it a little taller, you can do that. Just pour a little bit more on top. Just add a little bit more of them cookie crumbs in there. Now you're going to carefully, very carefully, add the second layer on top, very gently. Just like that. There you go. Take your hands and just press down, just very gently. Don't be too rough with it. To make sure that all this up here is sealed, I'm going to just take I have an offset spatula that I'm using here. And I'm going to just coat that along the top, on the sides. If you have some areas that's open, just fill in the gaps with the whipping cream. Use as less as possible, don't use too much. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just pipe some whipping cream onto the edge of the cake. Now you're going to add the banana slices. Now I'm going to add some of my vanilla wafer cookie crumbs. It don't matter the amount, just carefully add it in there and just use your judgment skills to determine how much to add. That's all you got to do. As long as you don't overfill it. Now I'm going to just pour the custard right on top. And I want to let y'all know this too. Don't leave the custard or the whipped cream out. As soon as you finish from using it, put it directly into the refrigerator or freezer to keep it cold. That looks good. Now I'm going to just take my spoon and just stir that custard in there a little bit to get the custard to go down. Now just pour a little bit more custard. Alright, now I'm going to take some of my whipping cream and I'm going to just add that on top. Very carefully, not too much. Now you're going to wait about 5 to 10 minutes before spreading the whipped cream on top of the cake. The reason being is because you want those vanilla wafers and that custard to set. And that way it'll be more easier to spread the whipping cream on top of the cake. If you do it too early, you're going to risk having that custard overflow on top of your cake. And you don't want that. So just be patient. Now you're going to take some of the heavy whipping cream and you're just going to add it onto the sides of the cake very carefully. Just smoothing the top out now since it's been a couple of minutes. I'm gonna just take my cake turntable and put it on here like that. Alright, now I'm gonna just take some of my cookie crumbs. I put it in my food processor for a little bit longer to grind down some of those larger crumbs and add it onto the side of the cake. Now to help get rid of some of the cake crumbs, you have a pastry brush and just carefully brush that off. Make sure you got a nice large pan underneath there to catch all those crumbs. And from there, just take your cookie crumbs and carefully add it into this Tupperware here. And from there, you could just reuse them all over again. Alright, now here I have the disposable piping bag with the tip cut off, and I'm going to just add the coupler right inside there. Now I'm going to add the Wilton No. 1M tip on top, and then screw it in place. Alright, now I'm going to take some of my whipping cream and I'm going to add it into this disposable piping bag with the Wilton No. 1M tip on it. It's ready to go. Now I'm going to just pipe the whipping cream onto the edge of the cake. Just go around in circles just like that. Make sure you don't leave any gaps in between. And now I'm going to add one right dead smack right in the middle. Now I'm going to just carefully pour some of my custard mixture right into the middle. Just a little bit. Very careful. Now if you want to add some bananas, you can do that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add some of my cookie crumbs right on top of that. And for the last final garnish, I'm going to add the vanilla wafers right on top, right here. Very gently with it, y'all. Very gentle. And from there, you could just lightly drizzle some of the custard right on top of the vanilla wafers, just like that. And one last final thing, just sprinkle some cookie crumbs right on top. I know this is going a little bit over the top, but hey, all done. Alright, now for some final quick tips after we finish decorating the cake. This is a refrigerator based cake, of course, so you have to leave it in your refrigerator at all times unless you're serving it. Alright, now you can't serve the cake right away. It's the same thing like if you make a banana pudding. You can't serve it right away. What you're going to do is you're going to take the cake, you're going to place it into your freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes just to harden the outside just a little bit. Then afterwards, then you add it into your refrigerator. Now if you have some kind of cake serving dish that you could put over this, like a large pot or something that's large enough to cover the whole cake without it messing up or anything like that, you could do that. And then you could place it into your refrigerator. Now if you want to serve the cake, You take the cake out of, you're gonna have to wait till almost the very next day, or 6 to 8 hours before serving, okay? So that way everything can set. All right, so now after the 6 to 8 hours, you take the cake out of the refrigerator. Now if you want to serve it, you gotta wait at least about, I would say about 30 minutes before serving it, before you cut it. Wait about 30 minutes, then you cut the cake and go from there, okay? So that way the cake can thaw just a little bit, so that way you can cut into it. Now you can let the cake sit out for at least about 2 hours. If you whip the whipped cream really good to where it's nice and thick and stable, you won't have a problem, because as you can see, I move this around and it's not going anywhere. All right, so that's a sign of a very stable cake. But if your cake is unstable, it's gonna slip, slide, all the layers are gonna slide off the cake. And then in the middle here, you're gonna see that it's gonna start bulging out as well. If your cake is unstable as well, that means that you didn't whip the whipped cream really good, which is one of the most important things you have to do. That's just about it. Here is the final presentation. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, homemade banana pudding cake made from scratch by a New Orleans native. Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. And I've been waiting for hours to have a slice of this cake. I'm telling you, when it comes down to making this cake, I forgot to let y'all know this in the beginning. You gotta have patience and tolerance to put this together. Now I've waited over 2 hours. I let the cake sit out at room temperature for 2 hours. Now I'm about to have a slice of it. As you can see, it's not falling apart or anything like that. Now that's a stable cake. Mm-hmm. Man, the cake is soft, it's moist, it has a wonderful banana and vanilla flavor. I mean, it's well worth the wait. It tastes like a banana pudding with a cake in it. That's all it is. It is so good. So, give the recipe a try. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. Now I have an official website for all of my recipes, including this fabulous homemade banana pudding cake recipe. You can go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. So until next time, take care, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.